This video contains no visuals to reduce visual overwhelm. Most of my videos will be recorded and filmed in podcast style unless otherwise stated. So, something surprising happened when I got my mini braids. My mental health actually improved, and I didn't expect that because technically it's just a hairstyle, right? It ain't that serious. It can't be that serious, right? Well, for my brain, it turned out to be a lot more than that because on this channel it is deeper than hair. So now, I want to be very clear before I start. I am not saying this will happen for you. I am only speaking from what I noticed in my life. Mi vida. Me leo. My life. I thought I'd try different languages. So now that the language barrier is out of the way, hi, my name is Nirvana. Welcome to Fine Hair. I release videos on Wednesdays or Sundays. So let's start with the fact that I have autism 1 and ADHD. Hi, all the neurodivergent girlies out there. So, which is written, if you don't know, AUDHD, which is ADHD. Everything I will be discussing in this video will make sense after you understand that being my present diagnosis. And I was actually late diagnosed, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, point one of the biggest ways mini braids has really helped my mental health is something psychologists call decision fatigue. And I didn't even really know about that until recently. So before this hairstyle, I would spend an unbelievable amount of time in the beauty supply stores. And I mean, standing there, looking, browsing, planning, going back and forth between 2 or 3 different styles. Sometimes I would go in with a plan for a style and then completely change my mind in the store. Not to mention the times I would literally just go in there, buy extensions, and never even use it. I technically didn't need to use it though because I don't already imagine myself at the imaginary place with the imaginary outfit, got the imaginary phone numbers of the rich men that were going to be flying me out, child. By the time I got home, I was over it already and put the hair in a drawer somewhere. Point is, y'all know it can be very overstimulating. The lights, the coffin sized aisles, the different hair colors, lengths, products, all the micro decisions you're making takes mental energy. I know someone else, what's his name? Pastor Philip, who I watch, he suffers from decision fatigue. That's why he always wears black. And I sort of have like this life uniform too that I've started wearing that also helps me with like decision fatigue. So that's helpful. Apparently, the like button has been out in these streets. She has crabs on her scalp. Can y'all please go help her? Psychologist Roy F. Baumeister wrote about something called decision fatigue, also, where it's basically like your brain gets really tired from making too many choices. And when your brain is tired from choices, literally everything else in life is just 10 times harder. I'm already a chronic overthinker in recovery. So, what mini braids did for me was remove an entire category of decisions from my life. And I had no idea that I was using so much brain energy until I didn't have to make those choices anymore. It just felt like a big gap of mental space open, like a deep cleaning, but for my brain. And so the second thing is something I struggle with personally, which is like impulse control. And for me, beauty supply stores are kind of like the Achilles heel. If you deal with ADHD or any form of executive dysfunction challenges, which you don't have to have ADHD to have executive dysfunction challenges, but these environments that have so many options can trigger impulsive spending or decision spirals. So I've learned something about myself that I do better with, like I mentioned, the life uniform because it just reduces overwhelm. And I just feel the mini braids work in the same exact way for my hair. It's just simplified my routine and took away that constant cycle of planning the next style, the next outfit, the next meal, and all of these things. And like surprisingly, simplifying these things in my lifestyle has brought me a lot of like internal peace. And lastly, the third thing was emotional. And honestly, this was like the most unexpected one because for a long time, a lot of my beauty decisions, I mean, y'all, I'm 42, and for more than half my life, I mean, this started when I was a teen, like, unfortunately, right? Just hypersexualizing myself, and a lot of my beauty decisions were tied to how I thought I needed to look. I wanted to look like the girls on, what was that, Smooth magazine, King magazine? Like, who did not want to look like them? Okay, stop, don't even lie. Okay, we don't lie on this channel. But anyway, for, what I needed to look like for other people, either potential hair clients, because I was working in even barbershops at the time, working in salons and nightclubs and gigs, and yep, men, again, maintaining this very high feminine aesthetic, heels every day, just like all the time, can be exhausting. And I promise you, it got me nothing of long term value. Nothing. It wasn't just physical, but this was emotional and spiritual exhaustion, guys. Like, because when you're performing an image for someone else's expectation, it disconnects you from your own sense of self. It's like a form of body dysmorphia. So what mini braids, I just call them mini braids because that's the name. My braids are kind of medium size. But what they've done for me is like I can position myself where I feel like where I don't present myself in a way for economic survival. That's what I was trying to say, or like for approval. And that allowed me to start asking deeper questions like, what do I actually feel like when I look like myself? And I realized I don't exist for the visual pleasure of other people. That journey alone has been so healing for me. Entonces para mí, for me. Okay, guys. Mini braids didn't just change my hair, they reduced my decision fatigue. They helped me avoid impulse triggers, which in turn has been saving me tons of money, which is very sexy. Okay, that is like definitely the next video is on finances. I already put up a little short on that, but we will be talking about that. But for now, I gotta stay on topic. This style gives me a sense of spiritual agency, like freedom from a 24/7 high performance look, and those things together actually improved my mental health. So, I'm actually curious. For those of you who either wrap your hair or wear like your natural hair in mini braids or have simplified just your style or aesthetic in any way, do you notice that people treat you differently when you show up more just like as yourself? I would love to hear your personal experiences. And remember, your fine hair is fine as it is.